Christian patriarchy has never known what to do with a woman who isn't afraid anymore. Today's my birthday, so I have a wish. If you have followed me for a while, or if this is the first time you're seeing me, I help people deconstruct from Christianity, and I help them find their spiritual path after leaving organized religion, but I also help you connect the dots between history right now to understand how Christian patriarchy and Christian nationalism impact what it means for us today. But I also feel like this app is obeying in advance and my content's not going anywhere. But that is my birthday wish. If you could just help me get this video out, because I want to talk about women who bent the arc. And by the arc, I mean the arc of the moral universe. Because I do believe there is a bridge from 1920 to Kamala Harris, and it shows us how the arc of the moral universe, it doesn't bend itself. It bends because someone grabs it, even when her hands are bleeding, even when she knows the people around her would rather watch her burn than see her rise. This video isn't an exhaustive list of women, especially Black women, whose courage has shaped history, from Harriet Tubman to Ida B. Wells. I'm going to list some women here. Go know their names, because many women carried the torch of truth long before the world was ready to see their light. Know their names and their story, because by doing so is resisting their erasure, but it's also remembering their stories, and that's an act of rebellion. Their courage does remind us that women have always been the conscience of this nation, standing in the gap between justice and the abyss. They've often risked everything to speak when silence would have kept them safe. Today I want to focus on pivotal moments so critical to, if they had not happened, what a different world we'd be living in today. Here's the bridge that I see between 1920 and Kamala Harris. And the first person I want to talk about is Madge Oberholtzer. If you do not know who Madge is, please go read the book Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. So she was 28 years old. She was from Indiana in 1925 when, right here, the Ku Klux Klan had a resurgence. And it wasn't just hiding in the shadows. It was the political powerhouse. It was the machine. And there was a man named D.C. Stevenson, and he was the Grand Dragon. He had his eye on the White House until he was arrested and convicted of unaliving Madge Oberholtzer in 1925. That derailed everything. Here's what happened. He kidnapped, he tortured, he brutally assaulted her. And right before she died, she dictated her story, every detail that people found so horrific, in her own words, and it brought him down. It was her dying testimony that shattered the Klan's stranglehold on American politics. She never lived to see it, but her voice was the hand to bend that arc at a time when the KKK was that close to becoming the president of the United States. That moral universe moved because a dying woman refused to let her pain be erased. Then if you just progress forward about 25 years, you come to Margaret Chase Smith. This was the era of McCarthyism. Many people were afraid to speak, afraid to be accused, afraid to lose everything. Does that sound familiar? In the middle of that fear, one woman, Senator Margaret Chase Smith, stood on the Senate floor and said no. She had written a declaration of conscience and called out the fear, the ignorance, the bigotry, the smear. And she didn't even have to name McCarthy. Every person in that chamber knew exactly who she was talking about. She got punished for it. She lost committee assignments. But history remembers her as the conscience of the Senate. Things started to change after she gave that speech, because she understood something every woman who bends that arc knows. The cost of silence is our soul, not your individual soul, but the soul of the nation. Just go up a little bit farther in history to find Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman in Congress, the first black woman to run for president. She ran knowing she would get death threats, knowing her party would try to shut her out. She did not care. She said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that folding chair, that's what bending the arc looks like. She carried the pain of her ancestors, the exhaustion of always being the first, and the fire of every woman who ever heard, just wait your turn. And she said, no, not anymore. Where does that bring us to today? With Ocasio-Cortez, with Crockett, with Kamala Harris. Today, that same fire burns in them. Every time they step to a mic, the machine goes into overdrive. The racist dog whistles, the misogyny, the tone policing, the trolling. Guess what? Christian patriarchy has never known what to do with a woman who isn't afraid anymore. Now, I'm going to say something that might offend some of you, so get ready. But these are the women who have no fucks left to give. That's exactly why they are powerful. They're viewed as dangerous and a threat by those who rely on subordination and the control of white supremacy. They will not be silent because they understand the severity of this moment. They know what it means when the government starts zip-tying children and deporting parents, when cruelty becomes policy, when silence becomes complicity. They're saying what so many are afraid to say out loud. If not you, who? And if not now, when? Because we now see that fascism will come for everyone. That same America that once burned crosses now burns through the truth. And the women standing up today carry the memory of every ancestor who refused to kneel. So yes, dear ones, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice because of women like Madge, Margaret, Shirley, Alexandria, Jasmine, and Kamala. It bends because of the women who speak through trembling and exhausted hearts. And it bends because even when the world tells them to stay quiet, they look power dead in the eye and they say, not this time, not anymore, because they know, as we all must know and never forget, that bending that arc isn't just about history. It is our sacred work. Remember, no man whose power comes from Christian patriarchy will ever freely give up any rights to people that they view less than. It is up to us to bend the arc of the moral universe. Now, beautiful souls, I know this is terrifying. I know it is exhausting, but it is we who must work with the women who are unafraid to be out front, to bend that arc of the moral universe, because left to their own devices, white men will never do anything other than what they have done for centuries. They will suffocate those who oppose them because they fear them. Please, don't give up hope. Don't ever give up hope.